Hello, TIA teachers. Congratulations. I've created a PowerPoint to kind of guide you to the next step and phases of the TIA program. Why did I get designated? The Teacher Incentive Allotment elevates the education profession by providing districts with systems and funding to do the following. With TIA, we are allowed to recruit, retain, and reward highly effective teachers. Our designation system identified you as a highly effective educator. TIA provides BISD with the means to reward you with extra compensation for the next 5 years. How did I get designated? There's another 15 to 20-minute video that shows you how designations were calculated. So I will not be reviewing that in this video, but you are more than welcome to go ahead and go to the TIA website and find the videos labeled as Determining a Teacher's Final Designation. This will show you exactly how designations were determined to get to your TIA designation. A little bit about designations. There are three tiers that are possible. We have the recognized tier, the exemplary tier, and the master tier. The lowest level is recognized and the highest level is master. As you can see, each tier generates a different amount of money. Designations are effective for 5 years. Please note that the year 23-24, the school year that we are currently in, will count as year one of these 5 designated years. In May, once the designation becomes official, because you have to meet two statutory requirements first, we'll go over that in a second. But in May, once it's official, you'll notice that the TIA designation will appear on the top part of your Texas Educator certification. So at the end of May, you may look up your certification, and at the very top, you'll see your TIA designation, along with an expiration date or when it will be valid up until. The two statutory requirements to officially get designated this year is you had to have been designated with a program, which you were, but you also had to have been reported as a teacher at the winter class roster submission. So basically, you had to be employed as a full-time teacher on the last Friday of February in order to gain the designation. In addition, you have to be employed for a creditable year of service. That means that you worked full-time as a teacher for at least one semester or half-time as a teacher for an entire year to earn a creditable year of service. Once you meet those two requirements, then your designation will become official and it will be officially placed on your certification, which you can see starting in late May. What is the timeline for TIA? Please remember that TIA is a 2-year cycle. On year one, we captured the data, and on year two, we submitted the data, and we have our first designation year. A teacher must be employed with the same district as a teacher for 2 consecutive years. So for you guys, we captured data last year in 22-23, and 23-24 we submitted your data to TIA for designation. If you had retired mid-year or if you had retired at the end of the year, you would not have been eligible to earn a designation. But because you are still employed with us as a teacher for those 2 consecutive years, then you are eligible to receive the designation and make it official. What I really want to impress upon you is the difference between a designation year and generating the allotment. The designation does last 5 years. However, you have to earn it every year by generating the allotments. What does that mean? So on year one, designation year, that's this year, your previous year T-test and SLO scores were sent to Texas Tech and TEA for validation. That already happened. You are employed as a teacher with a district who submitted your name for designation. That happened as well. You're employed with us right now. Designations have to be approved by TEA. That happened in March. TEA accepted our designation, so you are put forth for designation. And you have to meet two statutory requirements in order to earn that official designation. Again, you had to have been a teacher on the last Friday of February, and you had to have been employed the entire year as a 50% teacher, or as a teacher for at least half a year full time. So that's the designation year. Once it becomes official, then you are officially designated for the following 5 years, starting with year one as a designation year. So for years 2 through 5, you have to generate the money. The whole point of TIA is to keep teachers in the classroom. So TIA wants to make sure that before it gives you the money every year, that you actually stayed in the classroom as a teacher and that you're working full time. You do not have to go through the validation process all over again for years 2 through 5, but you do have to meet the two statutory requirements as stated before in order to earn the money each year. So, what are the two statutory requirements again? You have to be reported as a 087 teacher roll code in the class winter roster snapshot. And you have to be employed for a creditable year of service, which means you have to be teaching full time for a half a year or half time for a full year. The designation is effective for 5 years, but you have to earn or generate the money each year. So let's talk about the winter class roster because that kind of becomes important for TIA teachers. Just like there's a PEAMS snapshot date in October for fall, there's a PEAMS snapshot date in February for winter. We call that the winter class roster snapshot. Whichever school you are assigned to at the winter class roster snapshot will be the campus where you generate the allotment. Why is that important to know? Well, let's say you start off at a campus at the beginning of the year, and then for some reason you get transferred to a second campus mid year. Wherever you are physically assigned to teach on that last Friday of February is where you'll generate the money. So let's talk about designations this year. Some of you may have moved to a new school this year, but you're still employed with BISD. So your data may have come from a different school the previous year, but wherever you were teaching in February or the last Friday in February is where you'll generate the money. Again, for the winter class roster snapshot, you'll also need to be employed as a teacher on that date to be reported to PEAMS with a 087 teacher roll code. So again, TIA is meant to keep the teacher in the classroom. So the state wants to make sure that every year that you're designated for the 5 years, you actually are staying in the classroom and teaching. That's what they want to have happen. So year one, you get designated, and years 2 through 5, you generate the allotment. So a lot of questions have been coming to me asking, if I retire, will I keep generating the money? And the answer is no. Once you retire, you will not have met the two statutory requirements, and that means you will not generate the money. 5 years of designation. So our data capture year was 22-23. That's when we captured your T-test and SLO data. 23-24 now becomes year one. The winter class roster snapshot date was Friday, February 23rd. You had to have been a teacher on that day and will have earned a creditable year of service in order to get the money. This year, we're going to go ahead and pay it out in a lump sum in June of 2024. So you'll receive your first check in June of 2024, and it will be the amount of the allotment that you generate. Remember that you will earn 80% of what is generated in total. And we'll talk about the spending plan in a second. But just so you know that you will receive all your funds for year one in a lump sum in June of 2024. Next year, year two, 24-25, the winter class roster snapshot date is February 28th. Again, why is a winter class roster snapshot important? Because that is where you will generate the money, which means that will depend on where you're teaching on that day. Now, as far as the payout for the subsequent years, it could either be June or July of subsequent years. It is, of course, subject to change, and of course, we will give you advance notice every year when we do it. But just know that the district is allowed to pay out the allotment by August of each year. We don't anticipate that we're going to go all the way to August, but just know that that is an option for the district. But again, we will give you advance notice as to how we will pay it out. More than likely, it will be a lump sum, and more than likely, it'll be in June, July, or August of the allotment year. So again, right now we're in 23-24. Year one, February 23rd was the snapshot, and you'll be getting your first check as a lump sum in June of 2024. You can review the following years, review the following snapshot dates, and of course the estimated month or payout. Of course, that is subject to change, but we will be giving teachers a heads up as we move closer to those dates in the future. How much money will you generate? The 23-24 allotment amounts are calculated every year by TEA and released in mid-April of each school year. Allotment changes because the populations of the campus changes on a yearly basis. So TEA wants to make sure that the allotment that you're getting is based on real numbers for that current school year. Remember that TIA prioritizes high needs campuses as measured by the percentage of students who are reported as economically disadvantaged. So a campus that has a higher number of economically disadvantaged students will generate more money than a campus who has a lower number of economically disadvantaged students. I want to go ahead and give you an example of two different high schools here in Brownsville. Please note that these are last year's amount, 22-23 amounts. These are not current amounts. But a master teacher at Veterans will generate a total of $17,945, while a master teacher at Porter will generate a total of $28,847. Again, these are old allotment amounts. They're for last year, but I wanted to give you an idea of what it'll look like between different campuses here in Brownsville. Allotment amounts are released to mid-April on the state's TIA website. BISD does not calculate any funding. It is done by TEA and released by TEA. And here's the website where you can go check out the amount of money that each campus generates. You go to www.tiatexas.org. Once you're there, you'll see this. You'll find where it says funding map. Once you click on funding map, you'll see a map of Texas. You'll scroll down, come all the way down past Texas, and use the search features. You can search by school, you can search by district, and you can search by region. This lists every district in Texas. If for some reason you move next year and you want to know how much money you'll generate at your new school, this is the area or this is a resource you can use to find out how much money you'll generate. Please note that as of March 17th, the allotment amounts on the TIA website are last year's allotment totals. They are not the current totals that you'll get this year because they won't be updated until mid-April. The new amount will be listed as 23-24 campus allotments. Notice that when you click on Funding Map by going to tiatexas.org and click on Funding Map, you'll see that it says Explore the 22-23 campus allotments. These are the old allotments amounts for last year. You'll notice in mid-April that it will say Explore the 23-24 campus allotments. That's when you'll know that the allotments are now up to date. The BISD Cohort D Spending Plan. The spending plan can be found on our BISD Compensation Handbook on page 44. It's been there since the beginning of the year. 80% of the total allotment generated by the teacher will go to them. Again, 80% of the total allotment will go to the designated teacher. 10% of the allotment will get divided equally among non-designated teachers at the same campus as a designated teacher. BISD firmly believes that it takes a village to raise a student. So every teacher on that campus as a designated teacher will go ahead and see a part of the generated allotment. And of course, that's 10%. 10% does go to the district as well, as TEA allocates a certain percentage of each teacher's designated funds to the district to be reinvested for personnel, data platforms such as Eduphoria, and professional development. In early May of 2024, all TIA designated teachers will receive a congratulatory letter from BISD. In late May of 2024, an email from Texas Education Agency, the Texas Education Agency, will be sent to all designated teachers with general information. The official congratulatory letter from BISD will contain the exact allotment amounts that you'll receive, payment details as far as tax and TRS information, and the date for the lump sum payment. Please note again that the BISD email will show you the 80% that you're going to earn, and then of course with deductions and all the items that go along with the paycheck, will also show you those fringes that will be deducted from the 80%, as it would normally be done in a paycheck that you would get. The letter or the email from the Texas Education Agency will show you the total allotment that will be generated by yourself. But remember that the BIC email will give you the 80% allotment that you will go ahead and earn for yourself, and that'll be the biggest difference. So you'll be getting those two letters in May of 2024. Some frequently asked questions. Is it possible for a teacher to move up a designation level? And the answer is absolutely. However, teachers at the master level cannot move up any higher. So once you're a master teacher, TIA master teacher, you cannot move up any higher. But teachers at the recognized and exemplary level are able to move up depending on their T-test and SLO scores. If approved, their 5 years would start over. However, all designations are subject to validation by Texas Tech and TEA. So just like we submitted data this year and it got approved this year, every year we'll be submitting data um, to see whether or not Texas Tech validates our data and TEA accepts our new or higher designation levels. Is it possible for a teacher to move down a designation level? The answer is no. Um, TIA has it in statute that once you're designated at a certain level, you cannot move down because your T-test scores or SLO scores move down. Once a teacher is designated and the designation is officially placed on the teaching certificate, a teacher cannot move down a designation level. Now, a designation can be removed, and we're going to talk about that in a second. How, in what circumstances, can TEA revoke a designation? So here we go. Can a teacher's designation get voided or removed by TEA? And the answer is yes. And here's the following scenarios by statute as to how a designation would get removed. Number one, a teacher has not fulfilled all the designation requirements. Remember that you must generate an allotment each year by being employed as a teacher on the winter class winner snapshot, and you have to earn a credit for your service. Number two, the teacher is listed in the Texas Do Not Hire registry. Three, the designated teacher certificate issued by the SPEC, State Board of Education, is in a sanctioned status. Note that certificate sanctions resulting in automatic designation revocation. Remember that if a teacher's certificate gets sanctioned, it will automatically go into your designation will automatically be removed. If the sanction is lifted, the designated teacher may be reinstated to the original expiry date. So, if for some reason the teacher gets sanctioned on year two of the designation years, but then gets cleared and comes back on year three, as long as they're within those 5 years, the designation does come back. The designating district or charter schools designation system was voided. In case TA says BISD, we're going to void your designation system. Number three, or no, the next one, the National Board for Professional Teaching Standards revoke a national board certification that provides the basis for a teacher's designation. So this one you don't have to worry about because you've been onboarded through the BISE designation system. You were not onboarded by the National Board certification process, so you won't have to worry about that. At the discretion of the Commissioner of Education, if for some reason you get investigated and the commissioner wants to, he can go ahead and remove the designation from your certificate. Next question. If a teacher retires, will they still receive the allotment payout? Well, of course, it depends. If the teacher generates the allotment by being employed as a teacher at the winter class roster snapshot and earns a creditable year of service, the allotment will be sent to the district. That means the teacher will be paid out using the last known direct deposit account number that we have on file. However, if the teacher is not employed at the winter class roster snapshot and or does not earn a creditable year of service, the allotment will not be generated or paid out, meaning the district will not be receiving allotments or funds for you, the teacher that does retire. So if you retire on after year two and you still had years three, four, and five, the district will not receive money because you will not have been employed. If you retire on year two and you're at least working until the last Friday of February and you earn a creditable year of service, then we will go ahead and forward the funds out to the last known direct deposit account number that we have on file. If a teacher retires and comes back to substitute, can they still generate the allotment? The answer is no. The educator must be employed full time as a teacher at the winter class roster snapshot. And being a substitute does not count as a full time teacher, they are part time. If a teacher decides to leave Brownsville ISD, will their allotment be sent to BIC in the future? The answer is no. After year one, which is this 23-24 school year, so let's say next year, you decide that you need to leave Brownsville for any reason and you move to El Paso, The money follows you, the educator. The money is not does not follow the district; it follows the educator. So wherever you're teaching in February of next year's cycle, will be where the money is sent. So the money follows the teacher anywhere in Texas. If a teacher decides to move into a non-teaching role, such as a counselor or assistant principal, will they lose a designation after it has been issued on the certificate? The answer is no. Once the designation gets placed on your certificate in May and it's official, you will not lose it for 5 years. Of course, it can be voided for those reasons we talked about earlier, but um, no, it will not be taken away. However, because you're not employed as a full-time teacher, you will not generate money. So, to answer the question, no, but they will not generate an allotment and therefore not get paid the TIA amount. The whole purpose of TIA is to keep teachers in the classroom and not moved out into a different teaching role or a different role in the district. Next, if after year one the teacher moves to a non teaching role but then returns to a teaching role before the 5 years are over, then they will be able to generate an allotment. Of course, you'll have to go ahead and meet the statutory requirements. So, what does that mean? Let's say year two, you become an assistant principal, but then on year four, you return to being a teacher because you just missed teaching. Then in year four, as long as your 5 years are not over, you're able to generate money again by meeting the two statutory requirements. It does not get removed from your teaching certificate those 5 years. If a teacher moves to a different school or schools during the year, how would the allotment amount get determined? The answer: the school where the teacher is assigned to at the winter class roster snapshot date, which is always going to be the last Friday of February of that school year, will determine where the employee's allotment will be generated. So if an employee started at Manzano at the beginning of the year, got moved to Falk midway through the year, but then got moved one more time and actually is teaching at Canales Elementary on the last Friday of February, then the teacher would be assigned to Canales and the money will be generated at Canales, which is wherever the teacher was on that last Friday in February. This is why that winter class roster snapshot date really becomes important to a TIA teacher. Does FMLA count towards the creditable year of service? The answer is yes. Any type of paid leave where the teacher continues to be employed and paid as a teacher counts towards the creditable year of service. However, the designation can be voided if an educated certificate is sanctioned. So just make sure you keep that in mind. Is the TIA allotment TRS eligible? And the answer is yes. And this is perhaps the best part for those of us who are near retirement or for anyone who gets TIA. It does count towards your highest 5 year average of salary. So, one thing to keep in mind though is if you are near retirement, you will want to speak with a TRS representative to see exactly how much of a positive impact the allotment will have on your top 5 year average. If I were you, I would wait until May to see exactly how much the 80% of the allotment that you're going to earn will amount to. So I wouldn't call TRS just yet. I would wait to see exactly how much you're going to earn so that way you'll know how much of a positive impact TA will have on your average of top 5 years. House Bill 1416 and the TIA designated teacher. So one of the best perks about being a TIA designated teacher is that if a student is with you and they failed the STARS test or EOC test the year before, when they're with you that next following year, you won't have to track the 20 hours or 30 hours that they need in order for remediation that's required by House Bill 1416. So, if you're a math teacher, you won't have to. You will probably still have to do the meeting and let parents know what's going on, but you won't have to track the hours because they're with you. Because of course, TIA believes that we've identified the best teachers in BISD. So if they're with you, then they're already getting the best education possible. But of course, this will be covered by your campus administrator in the future, which will probably be next year once you're officially designated. That's all the information I have for you today. Please know that we're working very hard here in the TIA office to get everything running smoothly so that we can get you paid out in time. We are very proud of you, and we're very proud of all teachers in BISD. We thank you for your hard work, and of course, as always, there's a TIA website that you can refer to that has a lot of good information to help you out. If you still have questions, please feel free to call me at 698-1258. I am Emiliano Camarillo, your TIA coordinator, or you can go ahead and email me at tia@bisc.us. Again, congratulations. and we'll see you shortly.